Okay, math tours. Here we go. Module 6, quiz review. So for each of these first three, we're going to be asked to find the vertex of the parabola. And for the first two, find points. That's going to make our graph precise, so it's going to improve our precision. But each of these we're asked to recognize the process for the different kinds of forms that we have. So if we have a standard form like this, so far we aren't actually calculating the vertex from scratch. We give you the x-coordinate of the vertex, and we'll get later on to how do we find this. But for right now, you're given the x value. Remember, this is x, y. So if we plug that into our equation, right, we're going to get a y out. So that's what these ordered pairs are always representing in functions is when you put x in, what y do you get out? So let's put x in, 0.05 times -3 squared. Notice that this is an x squared, so if x is -3, I'm going to square the negative. Plus 3 times -3 plus 2. So that's 0.5. Got the decimal in the wrong place there. 0.5 times 9 plus -9 plus 2. So that's 4.5 plus -9 plus 2. So putting these together, I've got 6.5 minus 9 is going to give me negative 2.5. So negative 2.5 is our y value. So there's our vertex. I'm going to plot that right now. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2.5. There's my vertex. Now you'll recall that when we're graphing a parabola, I'm just going to graph one side of it here so you can see it clearly, that the y is always the square of the x. So if we were to go 1 over on x, we go up 1 on y, because 1 squared is 1. If we go over 2, that's going to take us up 4, right? Because 2 squared is 4. If we go over 3, that's going to take us up 9. And that's how we get the shape of a parabola, like that, right? So that's just 1/2, and then it would go up the other side. I'm just reminding us here so that we can use this shape to graph from here. Now, we don't just go over 1 up 1 because we have to look and see what's the leading coefficient, what's a. And here we see a equals 0.5. So if a equals 0.5, that means that after we do the square, then we have to multiply it by 1/2, or by 0.5. So we go over 1, and then instead of up 1, we have to go up 1/2 of that, so up 1/2. You can see I've already hit a point here that I could put as one of my points that I find. So there are many potential right answers here, but this one is a pretty easy one. It's -2, -2. And I'm going to lay out my scale here so I can count better. -4, -6, -8, 2, 4, 6, 8. There we are. So, over 1, up 1/2. Over 2, up, usually it would be 4, but now we've got times 0.5. 1, 2, 3. This would usually be up 4, but instead it's going to be up 1, 2, right there. Okay. If you want to make sort of a table to help this, right? So this is x squared. And what would be 0.5 x squared? 0.5, 2, 4, 2, 3, 9, 4.5. Just to remind you, that's fine. So over 3, 1, 2, 3, and up 4.5. 1, 2, 3, 4.5. So there we've got another point. So I've got -2, 2. I've got 0, 2. There's another way to find this, right? If we put it in 0, 0, and 0, those all become zeros, and then I've got 2. So 0.5 times 0 squared is 0. 3 times 0 is 0. So I've all this becomes 0 and 2. So 0, 2 is our y-intercept. That's one of the benefits of standard forms, that you can see our y-intercept right there. So I got 0, 2. Remember that parabolas are symmetrical, so we can plot these, the mirror image of them, and then this is what our parabola looks like. So what points do we have? I have 2 points here that are, this is 5, negative, or negative 5, negative 0.5. That's this one right there. This right there is negative 1, negative 0.5. But I'm gonna use the ones on the whole number points here. So this is negative 4, negative 2. It doesn't mean you can't use these. You certainly could. Negative 6 and 2. So any number of points will work as long as they are actual points in the graph. Graph this function and use either a table or visual method to find 4 points. So when we say table or visual method, that's what we're talking about. Are we going to use a table to find things? Are we going to just go over and up and over and up? All right, this is vertex form. So to find our vertex, it's written right in here. Remember, we're looking for h. H is what makes this parentheses 0. So we're looking for what appears there is negative h, and we need to do the opposite of that. So h equals negative 1, because negative 1 plus 1 is going to make this whole thing 0. And k is what's here. K is the same sign, because we're saying if x is 0, what would y be? Right? One of them is we're saying how can we make y 0, and one of them is making how do we make x 0. So let's take that. K is negative 5. So our vertex is negative 1, negative 5. So we go negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we have an a of 2. So over 1, up 2. Over 2, up 8. So I'm continuing to go back here and saying, okay, over 1, up 1, over 2, up 4, over 3, up 9. That's my pattern for y equals x squared. Now I need to do this for a multiplier by 2. It might be a good idea on your quiz to just give yourself a little table or visual representation so you can continue to work back from that. So over 1 up 2, over 2 up 2, 4, 6, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Double checking. So I've got the point 0, negative 3. I've got the point 1, 3. Now, if I go up over 3, 1, 2, 3, then that means I have to go up times 2. So 18. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. You can see that's way out of my graph. So that's not particularly helpful. Let's just do the mirror image here. There's my parabola, and now I've got these 2 points as well. Negative 2, negative 3, and negative 3, 3. All right, graph this function by using the zeros and midpoint formula to find the vertex. So the zeros, that means when is y equal to 0? And when y is equal to 0, remember, is when one of these parentheses is equal to 0. Right, we've got y equals, if we can just see this as this is some number, and this is times the parentheses, and times the parentheses, and we're trying to say, when is that equal to 0? Well, this is only going to equal 0 when either this thing is equal to 0, because then it'll be something times 0 times something. Or when this thing is equal to 0, then it'll be something times 0. There's no other way to multiply things together and get 0. So what makes this 0? That's x equals 2. It's just 2 minus 2 equals 0. And what makes this 0? Negative 3, because negative 3 plus 3 is 0. So this is going to be 2, 0, and negative 3, 0. You know those are your intercepts. Okay, so remember that a parabola is symmetrical, right? So that means that somewhere right in between them is going to be our vertex. We just don't know if that vertex is all the way down here and it's this really skinny one, or if it's right here and it's a really wide one. We do know it's kind of wide because we have the 1/5. But where is it exactly? And this is how we find that, the midpoint formula. So what we're looking for is our two x values. We're going to average them. So that's 2 plus negative 3. Add them together. Don't drop the negative. And then we divide it by 2. So this is going to be 2 minus 3, or negative 1 over 2. So it's negative 1/2. That is our x value of the midpoint. Great. What do I do with that? Well, I've got an x value. What's the y value? Right? Because our midpoint, our vertex, is going to be negative 1/2 something. We need to find out what that something is. So, yes, they're fractions, but you can do this. So we have negative 1/2 minus 2, negative 1/2 plus 3, all that times 1/5. Okay, do the parentheses first, then do the multiplication. Don't try and shortcut your way through it. You'll probably do something extra or miss a step. It's not worth it. So let's find common denominators. Negative 1/2 minus 4/2. Negative 1/2 plus 6/2. So this is negative 5/2 times 5/2 times, we're multiplying by 1/5. So that means I've got 1 times negative 5 times negative 5, negative 25, over 5 times 2 is 10, times 2 is 20. And then I can reduce this to negative 5/4. If fractions are your nemesis, go do some fraction practice. I mean, go to find a math game on SumDog or Cool Math Games or Khan Academy and just drill yourself some practice. And if you need some help on that, contact me because I will give you some fraction practice. We got to be able to do this. So that's our vertex is negative 1/2, negative 5/4. So that's 1 1/4. So that's what it looks like, just like this. And for this kind of problem, that's all we're looking for. If you can find a vertex intercept, we've defined the parabola. So there we go. All right. So what I'm going to be looking for is, can you find the midpoint? Can you plug that in? If you plug that in, can you then plot me that vertex and draw me the parabola? I'm making sure that our reviews are not easier than our tests. So I'm doing my best to give you some just enough challenge so that if you get your review done, you know you can come into the test knowing that you're going to do well. So don't freak out, just practice. You can do it. All right, last thing is just changing from vertex form to standard form. So in a lot of ways this is review because it's multiplying polynomials. We've got x plus 3 squared, so that means we got an x plus 3 multiplying by an x plus 3. The vast majority of you, when you did box method on the last quiz, you did great. Those of you that didn't do box method had more trouble. And we're going to be using this later on, and my experience is that students who learn this method, it serves a useful purpose later on. So if you haven't learned it yet, learn it now. Okay, remember x times x is x squared. I've got x squared. two terms that are alike, plus 3x, so that becomes a plus 6x, and then a plus 9. All right, that was what I did here was I just took care of the exponent, right? That's what that is. So I've still got the other things, 6 and minus 10. So this becomes, I distribute 6x squared plus 36x plus 54 minus 10. And then here are the terms we can combine. So my final answer is 6x squared plus 36x and then plus 44. Now we change from innocent form to standard form. Okay, very similar. It's just instead of having a squared binomial, we have two different binomials, x minus 2, x, and plus 8. Again, don't multiply through first. Very easy to screw that one up. Do the box method, then multiply the 3 through. X squared, negative 2x, 8x, and remember we're multiplying, negative 2 times 8 is negative 16. Okay, those two combine, so I have x squared plus 6x minus 16. Now I'm gonna, right, this is what I did. I multiplied those, that's what that was. Now I've got a minus 3 to distribute. I got to remember this is y equals. So this is 3x squared minus 18x, and then negative times a negative. 16 times 3 should be 48 if I'm remembering correctly, but I'm just going to double check. Yep, plus 48, and that is 3x squared minus 18x plus 48. Oh, y equals. So there you go. That's your quiz. Good luck on that. And we will see you in class.